you, so we heard a little bit already. But I first met Pastor Johnson Makashaba and his family, I think in 2011, on my first trip to Uganda. And we were doing A Light to the Nations, which is a ministry I serve with. We were doing a very large gospel festival. Literally, we will have 100,000 people in the field, hearing about Jesus and, just really seeing unbelievable miracles take place and really seeing unbelievable powers take place. In addition to all these grand things that happen with, Pastor Jim and I were just looking at some photos of, crowds that are amazing. You break it down to the very intimate of an individual orphanage and an individual home and an individual child. And so you kind of have the epic and then the intimate. And it's the intimate really where my heart is at, and it's seeing people that move in the intimate and that literally give their whole life, all day, every day, nonstop, for something else, for somebody else. And it's very powerful to see. And so I feel blessed to even know people like Pastor Johnson that do that. And now to be able to, sort of share that experience for me with people that I know, but then to be able to invite him in with people that I know to kind of share what is going on in the world. And Pastor will be able to share his own story and his own testimony about what he and his wife have done in terms of, we're asking questions about how do kids get educated in Uganda, and where do kids live in Uganda, and how do they get school fees in Uganda, and how do they do this in Uganda. And none of that happens without people coming together to make it happen. Mm-hmm. There is no, they will take care of it. It just doesn't exist. But because of that, and maybe because of a lack of social safety net in some way, you see a love of a community come together in ways that I don't see here in the United States. And when you see sort of a level of poorness, in the third world that's hard for us to comprehend. But what I don't see is a poverty mindset. You don't have people that feel bad. The people that are filled with love, and it's because people are pouring the gospel into them. And that's another way that I see how Jesus is so powerful to overcome the things that I know, I get wrapped up in sometimes here in the United States. But so I've had a great pleasure of spending a lot of time now with Pastor Johnson Bakashab, and I want you to come up and just be able to share your story about not only your bit of your life story, but what you're doing with your school and your orphanage and your ministry and your church. That I've had the pleasure of being in all of those places and praying with kids in there and preaching with them and doing things with school construction, and it's really been an amazing life story to watch and be able to just even spend a fraction of time with people like that. So, Pastor Johnson Bakashab.
Yes, sir. So, like you've heard, those are my names, Johnson Bakashaba. We've been friends with Terry for 4 years or 5 years, since 2011. Like he said, it has been a joy for our families to bond together with the love of Christ. He's been to my house, I've been to his house now, and when he was at my house, my children, he was talking a lot about his children, about Jack and Morgan, and my children asked me, is he ever going to bring his children here to see us? So they are always looking. I said, yeah, maybe one day. So we thank God that God has put us together for his name's sake. We started our church in this community in 1997. And one of the things that really touched my heart when we started the church was there's so many children who were on the streets. Because over years, so many people had died of diseases like AIDS and malaria and wars. And I mean, this was generations and generations and just leaving children, to fend for themselves. So children would try to look for help and then go to the streets and dig up in garbage bins for food. Some of them would turn into thieves and street children and prostitutes, and then eventually give birth to children with no responsible fathers who also ran to the streets. And sometimes men would take advantage of the girls because girls cannot fight with boys on the street for food. So like men would take advantage of the girls and sleep with them and, promising them food and help. And then eventually these girls would produce children with no fathers. So this kept on for years and years and years. So when we started our church, my heart went for these children because it was like the biggest audience I could have. Even when we were having church, even today, actually, children are the biggest part of our congregation.
And these children have like zero family. They just have.
Yes, most of them have zero family, and some of them have like a mother, others a grandmother, or others a distant relative. It's a mixture of all types of children. So what we did when we started the church, we started children's programs, like to help out, minister to children and bring them to the knowledge of Jesus. Because I knew the only way to help these children is pointing them to Jesus and teaching them the Bible and the ways of God. Because what they were doing was really bad. And, smoking and prostitution and stealing and killing. Actually, these young people, especially the youth, every day they would kill someone in the community, just steal their money. So somebody would die. There were murder cases almost every day. So we started the programs to try to reach out these children, but we were not being successful. It was really hard to bring these children to church, to tell them about Jesus. And I realized it's very hard to minister to children the love of God without meeting their physical needs. So actually, I and my wife, we started to reach out this community to the children and bring them into our house, especially those who had no place to call home. And we started bringing in our children, and today we have 5 adopted children on top of 4 of our own children. So 6 years ago, we were led to start an orphanage. We started with 16 children, and we kept adding in and adding in and adding in. Many people ask me the same question they asked me earlier on, how we pick children to put in the orphanage. It's kind of hard, but normally we ask the Lord to lead us, and especially with children who are in real need. There are children you just see that these children, I cannot just leave them. I was telling them the story about the last child we put in the orphanage called Derek. His mother was raped by a young man who had AIDS. And so the young man died before Derek was born. And a year later, after Derek was born, the mother died. So the boy started living with the grandmother. So recently, the grandmother also fell sick and died. So, seeing the boy just in the house all by himself, he's just 8 years. And this was the only hope he had in life, the grandmother. Now the grandmother is gone. So, such situations, you can't just look at the child like that. Just put them into the orphanage. So today we have 30 children in the orphanage, and we feed them, we take them to school, we pay the utilities and rent, and our monthly budget to take care of the orphanage is $2,500. But I was telling my friend that we've never had even half of that. The only commitment we have today is $800 to run the orphanage. So we really need prayers to keep this orphanage going. We need support. Today what we plan to do is buy land and grow our own food so that we are able to be self-sustaining. We already have some land. We have about 10 acres of land. We grow potatoes and banana. We have what we call banana matoke in our country, and most Americans don't like matoke. And beans and corn. But it just feeds the children for just about a few weeks. So to be able to be self-sustaining, we need more 10 acres of land so that we are able to, come to a place where we're able to run the orphanage. And we have also started a school we call Ebenezer Christian Academy. And the main reason why we started the school, we wanted to give our children education, but with the Christian background. Because There's nothing like public education in our country, so the government does not help. So somebody has to help these children to go to school. And if a child does not go to school, there is no way this child can ever be able to be self-sustaining, because there are no jobs for children who have not gone to school. We have a lot of tribes in our country, and to be able to communicate in our country, you must have gone to school. They do everything in English. So to give a child a future, this child must go to school. Unfortunately, our government is not helping to take these children to school. So every child must pay. In Uganda, education is paid for anyone to go to school. So we feel we want to come in and help children to have education. And so once every year, that's why I come around and speak to friends, speak to churches to raise support to take children to school. And it takes $35 every month to sponsor a child to be able to have education. And this basically pays for tuition, it pays for uniform, it pays for food, for lunch every day, and it pays for the child for medicine if the child is sick. So today we have over 100 children that are sponsored, but we still have hundreds and thousands who are in the community that need to go to school. And I was telling my friends that every day children come to our church, they come to my office crying that they want to be given an opportunity to go to school because they know that's their future. And it pains these children just to sit there and they see the rest go to school and they cannot go to school simply because they don't have money to go to school. And my heart goes for those children to help them, but there's no way we can help all those hundreds of children. But we need your help, we need your support, we need your prayers. Because we have to, this is the whole generation, and we feel we want to do this to help a whole generation to have a future. This is just, helping these children for eternity, so that they'll be able to be self-sustaining and be able to be responsible leaders in the future. So we started our own school because we wanted to educate these children, but with biblical values. I was so amazed. There's a mother that has a child in our school. The boy is almost 12 years now, but he was a bad boy. I mean, using bad language, throwing stones, and coming late at night. Moving around with the street boys, and he was really bad. Now, 2 years ago, he joined our school, and today God has transformed his life. I mean, he's a completely new boy. He loves to pray. He comes to church, to our Sunday school. He now goes home early. He helps his mother. And so before, in the small holiday, the mother came to my office and said, I don't understand this. In our country, they believe in a lot of witchcraft and magic and, things just happening, by the powers of... So she said, Pastor, I don't understand this. What magic did you do to my child? I said, magic? She said, yes. You can't believe this. Just 2 years ago, my boy is completely changed ever since he came to your school. He's just the nicest boy I've ever seen. I said, well, this is the work of God. This is what God can do. Because we have Bible studies every day, like he taught at our school. We have Bible studies, we have prayer time, we have worship. They do memory verses, and friends, the Word of God is so powerful. So we started a Christian school, and all we want is to give biblical values to our children so that this transforms their lives. Because we were looking at a scenario where you give education to children who are already skilled in all these bad arts. They know how to steal, they know how to kill, they can maneuver things because they want food, they do all these types of evil. Now, if you educate a thief, of course he's going to be a smart thief. So we just want to change their lives, to be totally transformed by the power of God, so that when we help them, they're going to be able to help themselves and then help our villages and other communities. So we have up to grade 7. Is that grade 7, P7? Mm-hmm. We have up to grade 7. And we are excited because this year they are going to be taking the exam. And this is going to be our first graduation. Yes, we are very excited. We are just looking forward to that. We're going to have this exam in a big test in November. So we are praying, and I want you to pray for us, friends. We are praying that our children will pass highly, because it's like this is the first Christian school in our village. And so like everybody is saying, let's see how the Christian school is going to perform. And so this is going to be a big testimony. It's going to be, it's going to mean a lot. And so we are praying that our children will perform well. And then they go to high school, because normally when most sponsors would really continue with children and take them to high school, because when the child goes to high school, the support goes higher. It's $50. And if some sponsors continue with the children, take them to university, that would be great. And all we want to see is help these children so they can be able to help themselves and help other people. And like you saw, God recently provided an opportunity for us to have land to use for our school. Where we are renting. And last year, the owner of the land actually almost asked us to leave the land. We were paying $150 every month for renting the land. But at the beginning of the year, he just came and said, do you know what? I want you to leave my land. And I told him, no, I don't have to take all these children. And this is a school. He said, well, I don't care whether it's a school or whatever it is. All I want is my land. So we pleaded with him. And then eventually said, okay, on condition you double the rent and then pay for the full year. So I had to make phone calls and send emails and say, please, friends, help us. We're in trouble. And eventually we came up with the money and paid for a full year. But then we did not make an agreement that we are going to remain on the land. So we are not sure if we are going to be there for next year. So that's the challenge we are facing. So we took a step of faith and we looked for land, and we made a down payment of $1,000. And this land costs $50,000. So we really need prayers, because the agreement we made with this land is to be able to come up with the remaining money by the end of the year. So by 1st January, if we don't have the money, he takes his land and takes our money. So we are not sure that we are going to be on the land which we are using today. So it gives me sleepless nights, but I want you to stand with us in prayer that God will do a miracle for us and provide this money, so that by the end of the year we have this land and we can be able to transfer our school to our own land. And in future we are looking at doing a medical center to treat our children, and do other programs that are going to help build skills and help children to learn a lot of trades which can help them to be self-sustaining. But briefly, that's what we're doing, and I'm sure you have questions.